So we know her on the stage, we know her in terms of the socials, but today we are getting to know Achsah Henry in the realm of breast cancer awareness. I'm so glad that you're having this conversation because we really see you eat all those flavors. And I know that lifestyle and wellness is something that you're really paying attention to these days. So to start the conversation, tell me a little bit of context for you as it relates to breast cancer. We know it's one of the more aggressive cancers that affects women in the Caribbean, but do you have any first-hand experience or relatives impacted? What is your relationship with breast cancer?
Well, breast cancer is actually a very important cancer, and raising awareness is very important to me. I actually lost my aunt to breast cancer. So I actually lost it at a very young age. I did not get to know her growing up. I have very little memory of her, and it's all my memories were her battling breast cancer, and then she passed. And then I actually have cystic dense breast tissue, which means that I am at a higher risk to developing breast cancer. So I have some experience with breast cancer for sure. Yeah.
Quite literally, quite literally. Fun fact, I do too. It's apparently something that is very commonplace with Caribbean women, which is why the aggression is so high with us. So then tell me a little bit as to how it influenced your approach to health and wellness then, because you have to pay attention.
Well, yes. So it's interesting because I discovered that I had this because I found a lump in my breast and I was like, I am too young. What is happening here? And I rushed to my gynecologist and we did an ultrasound and then a mammogram. And she's like, okay, well, don't worry. You don't have breast cancer, but you do have X, Y, and Z. And I immediately kind of changed a lot of my perspective on how I was living. So one of the big things that I do, and I encourage actually all women, even if you don't have cystic dense breast, is to stop wearing aluminum deodorant. I don't wear it. I understand that there's this issue with, smell, etc. But there are ways that you can combat that and do like detoxes and stuff like that. So that was the first thing she told me I had to get rid of, and I did it. And I don't wear like anything with aluminum. The aluminum deodorant, I should say, just because I'm trying very hard to protect that. I do self-examinations as often as I can, especially when my period is done. And then overall, my nutrition is very important to me. So I try to stay away from dairy. I stay away from gluten as much as I can. Red meats, any of those like triggers, and just trying to keep my health at the top of its game.
I really like that you're very aware of what to stay away from, but maybe that came from the fact that you had the history with the family. Where do you get your information from? It sounds like you have a great relationship with your doctors as well.
So, many areas. I am very candid with my doctors. I tell everyone they're like my best friends because I'm not one of those people who are not going to tell their doctors information because I'm worried about how they're going to perceive me or if they're going to judge me. I tell my doctor, especially my gynecologist, everything, and I ask a lot of questions because I just want to be as well informed as possible, especially because not just breast cancer, my dad actually is a survivor of colon rectal cancer. So there's cancer in my family for sure, and for those who don't know, if you have a parent with colon rectal, it is hereditary, and from the time you turn 30, you have to get regular checkups. So because of all of this, I try to be as aware as possible, and I do a lot of research, especially being a woman of color, we are more susceptible to a lot of different diseases and issues. So I just try to be as well versed as possible because we're trying to live a little long here.
we trying to live. You live in your best life actually, and that means that you pay attention to what you put into your body. You were saying your nutrition is an area of focus. So tell me a little bit as to what your nutrition or diet looks like specifically to support breast health. You told me things you avoid, but what do you put in?
So I want to be clear here, I am not perfect 24/7. I do have my moments where I eat food I'm not supposed to be eating. But in terms of supporting, I do try to live a protein heavy diet. I eat a lot of eggs. And so what I would say too is that just because you're hearing me say this doesn't mean that you necessarily need to do this. I think it's very important to have conversations with your doctors, especially in terms of knowing your blood type, knowing what other issues are going on. For instance, I have PCOS. So for a regular woman, what she may be able to eat, I may not be able to eat. But a lot of greens are highly recommended. Getting that balance of protein, greens, fruits. And I know there's this big discussion about fruit high in sugar, high in fructose. Should we have it? Should we not have it? I like my fruits and I'm going to have it, but everything is in moderation. For me, a protein heavy diet is what's best. It helps me with my PCOS as well. So I have to keep that in mind. I try my best, like I say, to stay away from the gluten. Gluten is bad for you on the whole, and especially dairy, especially being a woman of color. Dairy is like our worst enemy. So if you could stay away from that as like your first beginning step, do that.
Well, you also have a very physically demanding lifestyle, dance and, modeling and all of those sorts of things. But you definitely have to work on the mind as well when you have all of this going on. So tell me a little bit about what we put into the mental to maintain that health as well.
So I actually want to thank my mom for helping me with the mental side of things, because I know for a lot of people, we think, okay, well, I'm going to the gym, I'm eating right, like my life should be good, I should be looking the way I want to look. But stress plays such a huge role and factor in cancer and in PCOS and in just your general well-being. You might be going so hard in the gym and then you're like, but why am I not seeing the results? A lot of the times it's because of stress. So I want to thank my mom. She's incredible. Her stress management skills are through the roof, and she's passed a lot on to me in terms of meditation and journaling and just manifestation. She is a big advocate for manifestation, and she's passed that on to me, so I'm very thankful for that. I do journal a lot. And I also go to therapy. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I know there's a stigma around this as well, but therapy just gives you the tools to manage life. That's the best way I could describe it. And it helps you work through your trauma. And a good point to note is that when we store trauma, that actually could manifest into cancer. So it's good to find ways to get all of that stress and that negative energy out of your body, whether it be spending time in the sun, going on a walk, journaling, manifesting, talking to a therapist. There's so many different ways that you could find your outlet in terms of stress relief. And I think it's so important. I'm so glad you brought it up because it's such an important factor. And a lot of us don't realize how much stress can feed into these problems that manifest later on into life.
For sure, for sure. There have been studies that show that they can, as you rightly say, manifest into things like cancer, and the aggravation that takes place internally is really difficult to navigate once it happens. Prevention is better than cure. There's an Instagram post somewhere about that too, that we should just act crazy every now and then. But instead of acting crazy, if you had to give people advice, those particularly who are concerned with having cancer in their families, how they navigate it all, whether it be the physical, the mental, and even the possibility of becoming cancer positive and getting past it, because we know we can survive. What advice would you have to somebody who has cancer in their family?
I would say that, like you rightfully said, prevention is better than cure. And with a lot of these cancers, especially breast cancer, it is treatable if found early enough, and you can live a happy life in remission. You could be a survivor if you find out sooner rather than later. So I think one of the biggest things I can say is do not run from it, especially if you know you have a history of it in your family. Get the knowledge, get the information, ask your doctors questions, find out when is the right time for you to be getting mammograms or whatever test you need to do. And not just for cancer, for anything. Like, so many people don't even know their family history and what they could be more susceptible to developing. Please go and do the research, ask your family questions, ask your doctor questions, do your own research, find out what works best for you. And it's always good to get a second, third, and fourth opinion. You don't need to take one person's opinion and run with it. Do your own research, do a food test, do blood work, like get the information and you be as well versed as you can be, because prevention is so much better than cure. And like I just said, so many of the cancers could be treatable and you live a long, healthy life once you find out in the early stages. So please go get your mammograms.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, on that note, Asha, I know you have lots of things to do. My last question is if your favorite flavor of creamery is the same. No, I'm just joking. Has it changed?
You see that strawberry kiwi? I don't know what creamery put into that, but I crave it. I didn't think I could crave yogurt, but I crave that one. It's so good. I think I need like a
tub, a larger
big,
portion.
huge dance. Yeah.
Ma'am, everything in moderation. Keep up the good work, though. And thanks very much for sharing your stories with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think this is such an important initiative. Please, guys, go get your mammograms, talk to your doctors. And breast cancer is not only for women, not only women get diagnosed with breast cancer. So men, please go and talk to your doctors as well. I can't preach it enough. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this.
Have a good one, love.
Bye.